Hey, this is Drew Bennett from Big Damn Kid, and I have issue number 13 of the Transformers, the original series. And this one says on the front, The Menace of Megatron. We haven't seen Megatron since issue number 8, where Ratchet knocked him off that cliff there with the Dinobots, and he hasn't been around. He transformed in gun mode, and he ended up crashing to Earth. So I believe a lot of time has passed in that time, since now the snow is melted. And this one's called Shooting Star, even though it has another one on the front. And we got this guy running from these other guys. He's being shot at, and he's running through this gully or something like that. And they say on the first page here, it says, the most offbeat Transformers tale yet. Okay, well, it was kind of odd. It's different. So basically, this guy, I think his name is Joey Slick, and I want to say his name is Joey Slick. The names, and he is running from these two thugs who work for a guy named Lomax. Joey owes Lomax some money for some gambling debts, and so they're out to collect. And he escaped them, and they come after him. So he must have escaped their car. They come after him, and Joey is running through this gully, and he falls, and he finds a gun that's very familiar looking. And the gun, he tries to pull the trigger, it doesn't work. And the gun seemingly has a mind of its own, because it ends up blasting the two thugs. And it doesn't, we find out a couple of pages later, it doesn't actually kill them. So, you know, Joey is a little bit confused that, you know, the gun fired, he didn't even pull the trigger. He goes and he finds this old barn, and the gun transforms into Megatron. Well, I would expect that Megatron would just stomp on this little fleshling, but he doesn't. Instead, Joey asks him a question, and Megatron answers, tells him basically a recount of what has happened to him since he landed on Earth. You know, up until the point where he crashed off the cliff, based on, you know, Ratchet hitting him. And so basically his higher brain functions don't work. They've been disconnected, and he can't think for himself. This is what he tells Joey. And so Joey's like, well, you have to do what I want. And so Megatron, yes, he does have to do what Joey wants. Alright. So the two thugs go back to Lomax, and Lomax is, you know, he's basically this, you know, connected guy who is not happy with the two thugs, and he's got all these girls around at his palatial estate, and he, you know, he doesn't want anybody to think that, you know, he doesn't get proper respect, especially if somebody like Joey can beat up his guys. She didn't really beat him up, he just shot him with the gun. That didn't kill him, it's just a crazy, weird thing. So Joey goes back to his home. He lives in the southwest section of Portland, and as he goes, you kind of see the whole neighborhood knows Joey. They like Joey. The kids, you know, they're impressed with him because he can throw a football. And there's a guy named Mr. Kim. He takes care of him, and then his landlady takes care of him, invites him in for soup, wants to make sure that he's okay. You know, all these people like and respect Joey. He's kind of a dirtball, though, but they still like him, and he lives in kind of this ratty rundown place. You can see, you know, and while he's there, he wants to, you know, he gets upset with himself, and he's like, what do I do with this? You know, what do I do with a gun? And, you know, how is this going to change my life? And he hears footsteps outside. He looks out and sees these nice cars. He's like, oh, well, it's Lomax's thugs again. I gotta take off. He runs up the fire escape, and while he's up on the fire escape, he gets onto the roof. The guys chase after him, and he uses the gun to fire. You know, so he's telling Megatron, which he calls Gun. He just calls him Gun. You know, everything, whenever he's talking to Megatron and in gun form, he calls it Gun. Silly. and basically shoots the water tower on top of the building, knocks out the bad guys, and he takes off. And he goes to get a room at, a sleazy dive motel. It's going to cost him $17. He doesn't even have $17. He's got $15 on him. And so he decides to go and rob a liquor store, or a convenience store. So he, robs a convenience store. The police come after him. He uses the gun to stop, So he's starting to use the gun. He's starting to use the power that he has from Megatron. He even blows up an overpass, so he's starting to do some things that, he wouldn't normally have done. And, he's having this amount of power is really, really corrupting him. So he starts to get called the super shooter. He gets himself a fancy suit, and he's got the gun, and he's robbing all sorts of banks and jewelry stores and all sorts of things. Then the army comes after him. So he shoots and destroys all the army tanks and stuff like that, and walks away, lets them all live. And he doesn't kill anybody. And I don't know what Megatron is firing, if that's not killing anybody, because Megatron is incredibly lethal. I don't know. And so while this is happening, Lomax is getting more and more angry that this guy is still out there, and he, is making a fool of him. All of the other connected guys think he's a fool. Meanwhile, Joey is living it up. He's got a penthouse. He's got a penthouse apartment, and he's got lackeys of his own. And he realizes that they're just hanging on because of his wallet. So he decides that the only person he can talk to is Megatron. And he decides, let Megatron transform, and he talks to him. And Megatron is still, he is still mindless, and Joey figures, well, the place that people cared about me was my old neighborhood, so he goes back to his old neighborhood. But at that point, all the people are afraid of him, and the kids think that having a gun is really, the cool thing. They don't like football anymore. He realizes, what he's got to wake up. He's got to do something about this. So he goes to Lomax's, and when he goes into Lomax, all Lomax's guys are there to ambush him, and he basically takes out Lomax's house and destroys it, pays him back the $600 that he owed him. That was it. He just owed him $600. He pays him back the $600, and instead of killing him or shooting him with Megatron, he throws Megatron. Megatron hits the ground, and when he hits the ground, it dislodges a bullet. You can see there on that panel right there, it dislodges a bullet. Well, when it dislodges a bullet, Megatron transforms on his own. And Joey's like, "Whoa, why are you transforming without me telling you?" And Joey's in for a big surprise, because Megatron has now regained his higher functions, and he's about to splatter Joey into, mush. But Joey tells him, "Look, I thought that Lomax was the scariest thing ever, and I'm not afraid anymore, and I'm not afraid of you. So whatever you do to me, do what you're gonna do." And Megatron is actually a little impressed with this. He's impressed because he hasn't seen this audacity from anybody from the the human world before, and he gets Megatron's respect, and Megatron lets him live. And Megatron walks off into the sunset. Lomax gets arrested. Everyone sees Megatron leaving. And what does this mean for the Decepticons? We'll have to find out in the next issue. Maybe. Anyway, this is Drew Bennett from Big Damn Kid. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook as Big Damn Kid. You can also find me at BigDamnKid.com, where I do a little write-up of these. This one was not particularly one of my favorites. It does explain where Megatron was during this whole few issues, but having the Joey guy, realizing that power corrupted him and he wanted to go back to who he was, but he couldn't because he was, he had basically become something that he wasn't all along. And having Megatron at the control of someone, which I always kind of thought Megatron being a gun was kind of dumb. Now he's a tank, which always makes more sense. You know, him being a tank, he's much more powerful, and the whole shrinking down thing, whatever. But overall, you know, it was kind of a silly one. It wasn't one of my favorites. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Leave your comments below. Please subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow with another episode of this, issue of that. Thanks for watching.